Okay, so this month is National Write a Business Plan Month. And with that in mind, we have been interviewing fellow entrepreneurs and business experts all month long to hear their tips and tricks about business plans. Our biggest goal with this series is really to drive the point home that business plans are not just for startups, and they have huge value for even us existing business owners who have been at this for a minute. So today I have with me Chris Hill. He is the owner and founder of HumblePod, and he helps entrepreneurs all over the country with their podcasts. And he has been an excellent friend and resource for us here at The Social Brand. And so I'm super excited to get to introduce him to you guys. So Chris, why don't you start out by kind of telling us a little bit about your business and kind of what you do?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Victory.
Yeah.
So HumblePod, we are a podcast production company, and our goal is to make podcasting easy. We do that by providing editing and production services for podcasters, so that they can just record the content and we'll take care of the rest. Everything from the creation, editing process, recording, we help consult on it all and help build it out all along the way. So that's what we do. I
Yeah.
totally.
A little bit, if you want to just share the moment that you decided to be an entrepreneur.
I decided to be an entrepreneur honestly when I was in high school. I saw my dad lose his job. He was at Bell South, and when Bell South merged with AT&T, he was one of the folks that got laid off, and my dad had to go and find another job. And he ended up starting his own consulting business and started consulting with people on telecom services. And he did that for basically the rest of my high school career. By the time I got into college, ironically, he was already on his way to being back at AT&T. But I watched him go on this journey and start this business, and I said, not only, hey, I can do that, but hey, the business world that I'm about to enter may be uncertain. And I
Mm,
would love to have a way that I can guarantee my employment regardless of the place that I'm at in the world. And so I decided in college to major in not just marketing, but entrepreneurship at a dual major at
okay.
UT Chattanooga. And a lot of that came from what I saw my dad deal with. And I just always had this feeling that at some point being an entrepreneur would be in my best interest. And so that's where it got started for me.
Yeah. I'm so interested in hearing people's story of like how they got started. Because for me, a moment of clarity this year was like, hey, I never really had that moment. Like
Mm,
I just fell into it. And so hearing people's stories of like how they decided to choose this
mm.
has just been something I've been super interested in learning about over the last few months. So, okay, what was your first step that you took when you decided to start your first venture? Was HumblePod your first venture?
It was not, no.
Okay.
My first venture, I mean, if you count mowing lawns, that I've been an entrepreneur since high school.
Okay, I love it.
Um, but beyond that, I jumped in with a friend right after I had my first real career experience out of college. I ended up getting laid off from a job right around the time of the Great Recession and all that. And a friend of mine was starting a social media consulting business, and so he needed some help. And I said, "Hey, let's help start this business together." And so I helped him, and we started that business. And actually, interestingly enough, that business is what brought me back to Knoxville because we got a deal with WNOX to do a radio show as a trade of service for the social media services we were creating. And so that's where it all started for me. And I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about what not to do in that business. And that's what just continued to fuel this desire to run my own company and start my own business someday.
Cool. So, if you were starting HumblePod again today, what's one mistake that you made or one thing that you chose to do that you might do differently now?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I would say hire an assistant earlier is the thing I'm learning now. Someone who can kind of um be the bulldog for me when I need him to be, or the guardian of my time so that I can be better focused on things. Didn't realize how much that was missing until I brought them onto my team. I'd say that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, Chris and I have been talking about the whole admin assistant kind of journey together because we've both been venturing into that world in the last few months. So it makes such a difference. You're like, how did I used to do all this without this person? Like,
Like,
honestly, again, with that kind of idea of business plans not being something you stick on a shelf and allow to collect dust, how have you adapted your business plan in response to, unforeseen events and challenges, as the business landscape continues to change?
yeah, there's always the threat of like the death of podcasting, and people are like, oh, it's going to go away. Frankly, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I think too many other mediums are adopting podcasting to say that it's anywhere near the end of its life cycle. If anything, it'll be radio eventually one day, or what radio is now, especially talk radio, will be podcasting. But regardless of that, like it's something we have to adapt to. How do we serve our clients, how we handle things? AI is coming in and saying, well, we can take care of content writing for you, we can take care of editing for you.
Yeah.
Is that really true? To a degree, it's a good start, but it's definitely not there. So finding ways to fit within that and prove value beyond just what an AI or artificial intelligence can do, I think that's where we really provide value.
Mm.
And that's where we find ourselves trying to figure out how to navigate the next step in the business for HumblePod. I would say out of that, too, is like trying to fight the battle that all small businesses fight of like being everything to everybody, because you got one big client that wants a lot from you, and they
Yep.
want a lot of different services maybe than what you normally offer. But hey, they're your biggest client. You're going to take more money. Sure. Let's do that project. Let's do this. And being able to hone in and say, no, we do podcasting. No, we do this and we focus on this, I think is probably the biggest challenge that we're facing right now, is just trying to really hone in on what we do well and what we do best.
Yeah. So could you share what the key elements are in your business plan for HumblePod? Like when I don't know if you do annual strategic planning or anytime you look at the future and you begin planning, what are the things that you really hone in on and spend your time focusing on?
Yeah, so we do an annual planning process. We're actually coming up on the time of year when we normally get that together, and take myself and a couple of key team members, and we we sit down and we talk about the business and where it's at and where we want it to go. And we basically, I use a strategy called True North to really focus in on what we're doing. So I actually look at like, where could HumblePod be in 30 years?
Yeah.
What's the legacy that I want to leave as a business? Where do I want to go? And we take that as our first focus. And then we look at where do we want to be, a year from now, to make sure that we're hitting that 30-year target. Like, what do we need to do? Where do we need to start moving towards? And then that becomes our annual goals. And then we say, what's standing in our way? What are the barriers keeping us from accomplishing things over the next year? And those become our barriers. And that's what we tackle throughout the year. And we try to work on and improve as we go. Is it a perfect strategy and does it always work out? No, but it really helps hone us in and focus us as a business for going forward. And my hope is that every year we'll get better at being more realistic about our objectives and what we're able to accomplish, and then grow as a company too, because you learn a lot through your mistakes. And I think this is a good example of that process being played out. So
Yeah. Have you always used True North? That
yes,
okay.
yeah,
Cool.
I learned it in a previous role, and really liked it, and it's just been a great tool.
Cool. So being the marketing nerd that I am, I could not leave an opportunity to bring in branding and marketing. So what role has branding and like marketing, messaging, all of that played in your personal success? And how do you incorporate, those elements into your planning, if at all?
It's something we're still working on. The irony of being a business in this space is that it's hard to market yourself. Um,
Absolutely.
kind of the cobbler shoes mentality, if you will, or the cobbler, what is the cobbler kids? And now, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. I
Hopefully,
use that
hopefully, the
analogy all
listeners.
the time, and I think I mess it up every time. So,
But yeah, it's like we need, it's hard to do things for ourselves when we're doing the same thing for other people all day.
mhm.
And to remember that that's a priority. But we've made some strides. We built this brand, which is our podcast, with that intent in mind of we want to build content that people can engage with and enjoy, but also targeting people and talking to people in our space that are potentially clients or potentially maybe a good referral source for us in the future. And so we've built a lot with that, and I've really really enjoyed that. So we've done that. We've also this year we've started experimenting again. According to what we've done with True North, we wanted to make marketing a more serious focus. um and so we've done some educational videos, and we've had some good success. I mean, TikTok, we've got how to start a podcast for under $100 is now at like 48,000 views or something like that on TikTok. So
Okay.
pretty proud of that one. But
We've got a viral content producer here with us, ladies and gentlemen.
put that in major air quotes. I don't claim to be viral, but it's cool to see that one rise in popularity and interest, and just allows us to say we've got some authority. We know what we're talking about. We're not just guessing on these things. So that type of content is fun to put out. And yeah, just it takes a while to produce, and it's a challenge. But yeah, we're trying to center around that. We also do a newsletter as a company, and that's it's kind of internal, but it's also external facing. So it's like, just some quick, simple updates on the company from time to time. And then also, here's what's happening in the news. Here are things you need to pay attention to. We'll probably, once this comes out, highlight this video and this content, just to say, hey, check us out and see what we're doing. And we try to do that weekly to keep people informed. So yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Is your newsletter on LinkedIn included in
Yes.
that? Is that your weekly newsletter
It
you're
is.
discussing? Yeah,
Yep.
I saw
Yep.
you launch that, and I've been following that. So,
Good. Yeah. It's interesting. I got a lot of following on LinkedIn for it, and not so much on the email newsletters building,
mhm.
but you got to go to our website to sign up for it and stuff like that. And it's the same content. So
Yeah.
you get it one place, great.
Yep. Okay, so our very last question here. What is your biggest piece of advice around business and strategic planning for entrepreneurs who have big goals in 2024?
Biggest piece of advice. I mean, aside from starting a podcast, because obviously everybody needs a podcast.
Obviously.
Um, I think I think this year, I feel like the best thing that you can do is really focus on the basics and focus on doing what you know to do well. Don't try to let artificial intelligence and automation just fix everything for you, because it won't.
Mm,
Um, I think there's a lot of temptation for people to do that, and that's why I bring that up. Like, it just feels like a scapegoat a lot of times.
yeah.
So I'd say, outside of anything else, like that's kind of my advice.
Thank you so much for talking to us today and sharing a little bit of your perspective. If you guys want to learn more about Chris and all the amazing things he's doing at HumblePod, somewhere around this video, we will have all of his links so you can learn more about him and the amazing services that he offers to his clients. So thank you again.
Thank you, Victory. I appreciate it.